and this time I'm back with another movie review. I managed to catch Godzilla vs. Kong on HBO Max the other day, and decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little review for you guys and get my thoughts out on it. Now, I initially watched a couple of these new films from the extended universe. I did see the first Godzilla way back when. I think it was back in 2014-ish, around there. And I also saw Kong Skull Island. And I saw a bit of King of the Monsters, but I ended up not finishing that film. So, going into this, I can really say that there was kind of a lot of hype because this is the first time that we've actually seen Godzilla and Kong fight each other in a modern film. And based on Kong Skull Island, which was, I thought, an excellent movie, we'll finally see a decent version of Kong fighting probably the best rendition of Godzilla there has been in recent memory. So already going into this, things were looking pretty strong for both of these characters, and I did see the first trailer, and I was like, this looks like it's going to be a pretty good time, man. It doesn't seem to be having too much of that problem with a lot of these films. There's a lot of these versus movies have this problem whereby they try to add a lot of stuff into the movie to kind of pad out the fight scenes, and it didn't seem like there was going to be that much in this movie. And honestly, after watching it, I can say that's probably one of the strong suits of the movie. But this movie does have a lot of problems, and we're gonna go ahead and go into the good stuff first, and then I'm gonna talk about what I really didn't like about it, because there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I felt could have been a lot better. But yeah, so I think we should first start off with the good stuff, which are the things that should be praised. So let's go ahead and start with that first. So the first thing I noticed about this movie when watching it was the CGI is outstanding. So I think when it comes to that kind of stuff, these movies have always been very top level. So if you're into sort of the spectacle of these films, I think you'll enjoy what you see here, because personally for me, I've always been one of those people that I enjoy spectacle, but at the same time I want to see some substance in my movies. So on that front, I think they did pretty good here, man. There's a couple action sequences in this movie that I mean, to be honest, if you watch the trailer, you've pretty much seen almost all the action sequences in this, but you get a bit more when you watch the movie. So on that front, it delivers. So I can honestly say that the guys who did the CGI on this, good job on that one. The only problem I had was to me, the fight scenes in this movie weren't really that creatively interesting to watch. It had this problem where I like to call it CGI fest. So there's pretty much a ton of stuff going on, a ton of explosions happening, a ton of things, just basically craziness happening, that your brain almost kind of turns off a little bit. And I just kind of enjoy when I'm watching like a fight scene between two very distinctive characters here. I want to see a bit more of creativity. I want to see the characters come out during the fights, and the dynamic could have been a little bit better between these two. I mean, basically, Kong mostly just punched Godzilla, and Godzilla just basically swam around a lot and used his beam. There wasn't really a whole lot of dynamic between the way that they fought. There was a little bit with Godzilla, and there was a little bit with Kong, but it never had a moment where everyone was like, oh, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, on that aspect, I think it was pretty decent. That was alright. The other section I want to talk about which I think was the probably the strongest part of this entire movie. Well, we're gonna kind of go into a little bit of spoilers here, so if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you might not want to watch this particular part of the video. But there's an aspect of this movie where basically you have a section of the film where the characters have to follow Kong to the center of the earth, and this part was cool, man. Like I was watching this thing from home, and I'm like, oh my god, like the way the whole sequence went, and they have like these special ships to go into the center of the earth, and like Kong is like swinging, and they're following him, and they're going deeper and deeper, and then it's like, man, it made me kind of miss being in movie theaters, because even though like I have a pretty decent system at home watching this on TV and surround sound, you kind of miss some of that spectacle of seeing that on the big screen. I'm like, man, this would have worked so much better if I had watched this in the movie theater. But you have that whole section there, and I think that was probably the whole single best sequence in the movie, because you get a whole sense of like backstory for what got for Kong and where he came from, and his whole ancestry, and they didn't really go into it too deeply, but I thought I was like, man, this is cool, man. I want to see more of this, rather than some of the human characters and whatever drama they have going on. But yeah, that was the strongest aspect of the film for me, and that and the final battle was pretty cool to watch, man. All right, now I think we can probably go into some of the problems. This is a type of film where you basically have to turn your brain off at the door. And I call this sort of the Transformers Bayformers effect. And I really don't like to do this for movies, because I think it's kind of unfair. But I have to call it like it is. All the sections in this film with the human characters are basically disposable. There really isn't a whole lot going on, and what is going on is incredibly stupid. Now, that whole part of the film where you have these characters trying to break into this government lab, and somehow they're able to get into a top secret facility, nobody notices them, there's no cameras, there's no security, and they keep going deeper and deeper. I thought that whole aspect was so cliche. You see that in so many movies, and I think it didn't add anything really to the film, and it just kind of took me out of it. But I mean, that's always kind of been a problem with these kind of films. The humans aren't really the focus, but they feel this desperate need to sort of put them in there anyway. So once you go in knowing that, I mean, you're really there just to see them fight. But I gotta say, I was actually kind of impressed with how I felt about Kong's side of characters, the human aspect on his end. What I thought was a bit better. I was really interested that I thought that the little girl was actually quite good. When I watched the trailer initially, I thought she would be kind of an annoying character, but she didn't really have a whole lot of scenes, and the scenes she did have were pretty good. So I thought that was an interesting aspect to bring into this, the whole sign language and Kong being able to learn how to communicate, and she's the only one that he really kind of connected to and trusts. And there's this whole aspect of like how, well, he's afraid of you, but he doesn't want to talk to you. He only talks to me. And, the humans are trying to gain his trust and all that stuff. I thought it was pretty cool, man. Like that was like a strong part of the movie too. So there's that. So, I mean, there isn't to say that there aren't some annoying humans on his end. That corporate lady who was the daughter of the big CEO guy in charge of that company, that was probably one of the most annoying characters I've ever seen in a movie. And I'm glad things turned out the way they did with her. So I won't really put too many spoilers in there, but yeah. A good job on that one. I appreciate that. So really, I think a lot of the enjoyment you get out of this will be on Are you one of those people that can sort of have a good suspension of disbelief? Or are you one of those people that kind of just watches movies for the spectacle and the fight scenes and the CGI? Because man, there are some very, very, very big nonsensical things that happen in this movie. I mean, things that are like sort of kind of almost break down as you talk about it. Like, if you really sort of analyze the storylines and the events that happen in this, it just completely falls apart. But I mean, that's okay, you know? I mean, the idea of this movie and the concepts and what they were trying to do, I think for the most part was successful. And audiences today aren't really as into films the same way people were back in the day. Like for me, I'm old school. I like to watch a movie and have basically a kind of movie that I can't really find any real plot holes, and there are many plot holes in this that are just almost to the point where it's like it completely pulls you out. But yeah, I think on a basic entertainment level, the movie is pretty good. So I'd probably go ahead and I'd probably give this like a 6 out of 10, which is kind of like above average. I did get a lot of vibes out of this that I felt were done in other movies better. Like if you're into sort of those big city fight scenes with giant creatures and stuff like that, I would probably recommend you watch like Pacific Rim over this, just because the creative mindset of that director and what he did with that movie, I think was kind of an inspiration for a lot of stuff in this movie, given that the whole neon city and the monsters fighting in China and all that. I thought that was done better in Pacific Rim. But yeah, that's probably another video for another time. But anyway, that's about all I have for this picture and this review. And I do appreciate you guys liking the videos and commenting. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to doing more of these because there's some interesting films coming out in the future. We have Mortal Kombat coming out pretty soon, so hopefully that'll be a good one, and we can go ahead and go and do a more in-depth review of that. Because with this is kind of a simple movie. There's not a whole lot to really talk about. There are some surprises in there, but a lot of the stuff was fan stuff that was kind of hinted at, and it was like, oh, okay, well, that kind of came true. But yeah, I mean, that's about all I have for this one. So I appreciate you guys stopping by, watching the video, and yeah, that's all I got for this one. Infinity out. I'll see you guys in the next one.